Every day I see you is a fine
The
day.
NBA is rounding out. We have a couple more weeks left. We had the Celtics, the Pistons, and the Thunder and Spurs already clinch at least, specific spots in the playoffs, and we have a bunch of teams that have been eliminated. I'm joined once again by Logan. He's got a little rocking a little bit of a new look, but there's no need to be concerned. Logan, you can explain to the people off the top if they're questioning the appearance over there in Colombia at the moment.
Yeah, I went skiing for 2 days in Colorado, and it was super hot over there, more than it's ever been in my time being there. It was about 60 degrees on the mountain, and I did not wear sunscreen when I was skiing. And when you're in the altitude, the UV hits harder, and the reflection off the snow was like double trouble. So obviously, you can see where I was wearing my goggles, and my nose and down was not covered. So I'm rocking a half burn, half normal face right now.
It's a little red mamba beard you got, so I like it. I mean, it's getting ready for, what's going to happen this weekend. As you guys have seen, the channel is very, March Madness focused at the moment, but the NBA content's going to just take off in, April, May, and as we get into June. And me and Logan will start us off with a segment that we kind of tossed around a little bit off air. And we're going to play a game, and you guys can hop along for the ride. It's titled, at the moment it's titled, Is He the Guy? Now we're going to go through. Logan has put together a list of players, and we're going to go through it and give our opinions. There's going to be names, that they've been the guy. Jokic, he's won a title as the best guy. Boston, I can't wait to talk about them. SGA. So, obviously we won't touch on those players. But Logan, let's start us off. Who do you have in the first edition of Is He the Guy?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the Pistons and Cade Cunningham. So I was curious, do you think Cade Cunningham can be the guy and lead this Pistons team to a finals appearance? So I'll give a little bit of context. After he got hurt, they are 5-1 since his injury. They've been holding up pretty decently. Granted, they played the Wizards. They beat the Warriors. It's an all right win. They beat the Lakers by 3. That's nice. Lost to the Hawks by 1, but that's no shame there because the Hawks are on quite the heater. I think they were 9-1 in their last 10 games until your Celtics beat them the other day. And then they destroyed the Pelicans and they destroyed the Timberwolves. And they actually have the Thunder um, tonight. So that'll be interesting to see how they hold up with no Cade. But essentially, my question is, do you think Cade Cunningham can take this team to the finals?
I think he can. I think the question of it that should be asked is, will he? I think what we've seen from Tatum, especially last night against Charlotte, he's back and he's really just looking like not quite at that peak that he was right before he got injured against the Knicks, but he's at that level where it doesn't even look like he had an injury less than a year ago. So I would say Boston right now has to be the prohibitive favorites in the East. And I just feel like the East, I'm just not seeing it with anybody else other than Boston. I mean, Detroit, I love Duran, his game. Thompson has been on an absolute run. Cade, I think he can. It's just the Pistons scare me a little bit just because they did have a little bit of a taste of it last year, but I just don't think that they've had the consistent battle scars that you kind of have to get over that edge and make it to the finals. I know that the Pacers kind of had a magical run last season, but I just think, all the pieces kind of came together. So that could happen for Detroit, but they're kind of giving me Cavs vibes of last year. I don't think they'll get knocked out of the first round like the Cavs did, but I do think that, Cade can lead them to the promised land. I just don't think it'll be this year. What about you?
Yeah, I think at some point they probably can. I think this was the year to do it, but no one really foresaw Tatum coming back this early and looking so good because I think Boston has to be the favorite coming out of the East at this point. Um, We like to shout out Denise Jenkins. He was a guy who was on a two-way contract with them to start the season, and ever since Cade's been out, he's been playing the most minutes on the team, and he's been holding up very well. He's a good creator and a good assist guy. He's been stepping in really nice, and he's kind of been a good bench playmaker that this team kind of needs. I think that's probably their biggest weakness is offensive creation outside of Cade, specifically at that guard spot. But yeah, you did mention Boston, so we'll go into my next question now. And this is somewhat of a hypothetical, and there's two parts to this. Can Tatum lead this team to the finals with hypothetically if there was no Jaylen Brown? Because obviously at the start of the season, we were wondering, can Jaylen Brown do this with no Tatum? So I wanted to ask you, do you think Tatum could do this without Jaylen Brown? Obviously, Brown's not out for the season. Like I said, this is a hypothetical, but this Celtics team, say they didn't have Jaylen Brown, do you think Tatum could lead them to the finals?
Yeah, I really do. I think something that's been unlocked, and we saw it last year a little bit before the injury, is Tatum's flexibility at not just being, one of the best forwards in the NBA, but him being a really good sneaky center when they do play him at the five. He has had that ability to, he has the size and the strength, not quite to, a Jalen Duren or, a center, actual, designated center, but he has the flexibility and the agility to kind of guard all positions. And an underrated characteristic of Tatum that I've noticed being a fan of his, since his college days is the floor has opened up for him in a way that we didn't see his first, 4 or 5 years in the league, and the passing, the way he's able to find these guys. And I really do think that in a weird way, it was a blessing in disguise with the injury because he was able to sit and kind of see the whole floor as a quasi coach and assistant coach, and he was able to pick up on some characteristics of, Shireman, Pritchard, kind of see the holes in their game and set them up because he can always get his anytime he's on the court. He has the mid range, he has the three. He's able to attack the lane a lot better than he was early on in his career. So I do think, to answer your question, I think he can lead them, but I do think that it's not one of those situations where it's all on Jason or all on Jalen. I think that to their credit, they've been able to integrate each other's strengths, and you saw it when they won the championship in 2024. Tatum was, clearly the best player on the team, but Jalen Brown, won Finals MVP and kind of took over. And I think the unselfish nature of both of them is one of the things that I really respect about both of them. It's not just a situation where they have to both be the alpha and it's two Michael Jordans butting heads. It's all right, I'm not doing well this game. Jalen, take over for me. And the way that they're able to do that and lift each other up, I think is, both to their credit.
Yeah. All right, flip side. Let's say Tatum was ruled out for the season. He wasn't going to play at all. Do you think Jaylen Brown could have done it? Lead this team to the finals?
I think the way that he was taken over, I really do. I think he was playing like a first team All NBA player before Tatum came back. And I do think that it is, SGA and Wemby fighting for, the MVP right now. SGA most likely will win it, but Jaylen Brown has a good case for it. There's been a lot of analysts, people that I respect, Michael Wilbon, have said Jalen should be right there. And he showed a lot of Celtics fans because I've been a Tatum believer since day one, and I like Jalen, but there was, those key weaknesses. Can he use his left hand? His shooting kind of came and went for a while. But this season, he just showed out. And I was always told, Jalen's better than Tatum. Tatum's good, but like I think Jalen's better. And I never really believed it, but this season I was like, okay, like there is the 1A, 1B can be flip-flopped. Like Jalen absolutely took the reins, took the keys to the city while Tatum was out, and it hasn't really stopped. I know he's had a little bit of a break. But I think both of them can lead a franchise to the promised land if they're the number one option. I really do.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think the Celtics had a decent, pretty good chance to make the finals if Tatum hypothetically wasn't ever coming back. But I have to believe they're making the finals now. I do like Cleveland a lot, and New York's all right. I don't know about Detroit. Just because, Cade's gonna have to get reaccustomed to the team and just playing and everything. And I think they say he's coming back like right before the playoffs start, so we'll see how that goes. I'll move on to now. I have a Knicks one for you. Is this the best roster that Brunson will ever have, and can he lead this team past the conference finals? Because I will say there is somewhat of a history of when your team revolves around a small guard, it doesn't really work out in the playoffs unless you are Steph Curry, who is the greatest shooter and the greatest point guard of all time.
I think you kind of answered it there. Steph Curry, and then we saw, Allen Iverson, in the 2001 finals lead if you look at that Sixers roster, I mean, he absolutely carried them at, sub 6 feet tall and met up with the Lakers, but I just don't think a finals appearance is the ceiling for this team. I think it is, like you mentioned, conference finals, just based off the fact that I do like how with the Knicks, I love the continuity. There's not a lot of new faces. They've kind of had that same core of, Cat, Anunoby, Brunson, Hart, McBride, which makes it fun because come playoff time, Tatum's seen them and, the Pacers and all these battles. It's not just fresh faces. I think if you want to see that kind of scenario, it's the Cavs because how is Harden going to look with them instead of Garland? And I mean, look at Garland, man. When he went to the Clippers, he's absolutely taken over, and they're going to be a fascinating team to see in the playoffs. But to answer your question, I just don't think they're a finals team. The Knicks, I do think the fact that they've had these deep playoff runs is a thing that could take them over the top. But at the end of the day, I just don't see them in the finals, going up against San Antonio or OKC. I just don't see it happening unless something were to happen, Boston were to fall apart, or even the Pistons. I mean, a Pistons Knicks playoff series would be fascinating as well. But I don't quite see the ceiling as, high as some Knicks fans probably think. What do you think? I just don't think they have that ability to just take over like we've seen from Oklahoma City and San Antonio.
Yeah, I think it's the best roster that Brunson will ever have, Towns will ever have. I think they're really well rounded. Their bench is really nice. It's just going to be a matter of can Mike Brown give this team the right, coaching to get to the point of getting past that conference finals. And, there's arguments to be made to where if your best two players are defensive liabilities, Brunson and Cat, you're just going to have issues. No matter how much you might like the surrounding core, their wings of Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby, still all stellar on defense, but can they make up for what Brunson and Cat lack on the defensive end? And then, on the bench too, they got Clarkson, they got Alvarado, they got McBride, who just came back from injury. Mohamed Diawara has been good, and then Mitchell Robinson, obviously stellar rim protector and rebounder. I really like their roster a lot, and I think if things can start clicking for them, they are 7-3 in their last 10, so they are playing good. They've kind of been up and down throughout the season. But I think if they play really good ball in the playoffs, I think they can make the finals. It will be tough, but I won't say it's impossible for them. Um, Next, I got another East question for you. The Hornets. So they are 28 and 14 in the year of 2026. 28 and 14. Right now they're the 10 seed, but they are 3.5 games from the 5 seed Raptors. So 5 to 10 is just a 3.5 game difference. So that 10 seed sounds daunting, but if a team goes short and they continue to play well, they could very well be out of the play-in. So I want to ask you, let's say they make the playoffs. Let's say they are at best, let's say they're a 7 seed. All right, they play well at the end of the season, they get out of the play-in. They might be facing your Celtics, your Knicks, maybe the Cavs if they go on a run. What do you think the Hornets' ceiling is? Can they make a round one be feisty, or do you think their lack of experience will end up just being kind of almost a sweep or a gentleman's sweep in the round one? Most likely by your Celtics.
I think that with the Hornets, I've loved them all year. Knipple and Flag, I mean, they've been my some of my favorite rookies, and that's just a testament to them and the the teammates of Duke, as we unfortunately saw this past weekend. It's a tough time to be a Duke supporter and fan. But I they scare the hell out of me, and I don't see them quite upsetting Boston, and I don't really see them upsetting Detroit. But after that, I think it's up for grabs because New York, like I mentioned, they've had moments where they just kind of are asleep, and they're down 10, they're down 12, and they are consistent. But like you said, I mean, Brunson and Towns are a liability on defense, and with the shooting ability of Knipple, Brandon Miller can really show out. LaMelo Ball, this is your chance. You haven't been in the playoffs, haven't really had a moment to show you're worthy of that superstar status, the max contract. So if I were a Knicks fan or a Cavs fan, they would scare the hell out of me. I could see them upsetting either of those teams, especially with them being a young team. There's always a team like that. We saw it with the Warriors, 2012, 2015, they were able to upset in the first round. So I could totally see them being a team that does that. A team that also kind of scares me is Philly. They're kind of coming into their own. Embiid, if he can put together a little bit of strength and not let those injuries that have piled up get to him, and if PG and Edgecombe and Maxey are hitting on all cylinders, I don't really want to face them either if I were a Celtics fan, or even Detroit. So Philly and Charlotte are definitely those ones in the 5 to 10 that scare me. I don't really think any of the other teams really would scare any of the top four teams.
Yeah. Some context, the Hornets did beat the Knicks last Thursday by 11 at home. So you did mention the Sixers. I did have a Sixers question. Actually, I had a second Hornets question. Let's do that first. Going forward into the future, which, if you had to pick two of their big three to build around in the future, who would you do between Khan, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller? Which two of the three would you pick to build around in the future?
Nipple, you can write that in pen. The other two, I don't know. They both can be complementary pieces, but for me, I think I'd probably have to go Brandon Miller. I really like his game. I think LaMelo, I mean, it's fascinating because he's been in our lives. He's been in the spotlight for well over almost 10 years now, and I just don't know if he can be the best player on a team that will go to even a conference finals. I think Nipple can. He can be like an all NBA type player down the road. Like, probably third team, but I could totally see that. I think they need to build all around him. And I think Brandon Miller could be one of the best, third options on a championship winning team. He just has that shooting ability. He's not a Kevin Durant. I don't think he could be a number one option, but he has that complementary ability. If he's knocking down shots, playing some defense, I could totally see him on a Hornets team, in 5 years, making a conference finals run with Knipple. LaMelo, I've never really been fully on the hype train. I've kind of just been a fan a little from afar. I wouldn't say he's one of my guys, but I would definitely probably have Miller and Knipple if I had to pick just two.
Okay, follow up. If let's sub out Klay Thompson from the Warriors run and put in Con Knipple, do the Warriors still win their four rings if you swap Thompson for Knipple? Because there's a defensive drop off there. Because
I would
Clay
say they
was,
win. I said they win three.
yeah,
I say they probably. mm, I mean, because 15, they were young and hungry. And then with KD, I mean, nobody was really beating them.
yeah, true,
22, I
good
think
point.
just JT and JB were just too young. They needed that Curry, and Curry needed that. He was the hungriest out of anybody because he hadn't had his finals MVP, and everybody was like, "Oh, he just won because of KD," which I mean is fair. They had a monster squad. I would say at least three. I don't think he's that much of a fall off because then everybody would just kind of have to pick him up. But I'm a huge fan of Knipple. I mean, I'm gonna buy all the stock uh, as much stock as I can of his.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. You made a good point with the KD stuff. They were probably never losing with KD. And then that 15-16, they were young and hungry. And then the one against your Celtics, Steph was the most hungriest because he wanted that Finals MVP. So I probably agree with you there. All right, we'll get to that Sixers question I had. This one's a hypothetical. Let's say Embiid, his health just takes too much of a toll, and let's say he's retired in 2 years. So now, and Paul George would be gone too because he'd be like 38, so kind of a non-factor. So let's say 2 years from now, can Tyrese and VJ together lead their team to a conference finals? Now, obviously, that there's some more with that question where it's like, all right, what are the other pieces around the team? Let's just say that they're built out pretty decently. They got a decent center. They have some good forwards because obviously, they have Paul George and Oubre right now. I don't think you're going to be relying on them 2 years from now. So let's say they're built pretty decently around Tyrese and VJ. Do you think those two together could lead their team to a conference finals? I don't think it could be finals. That was my original question, but I added the conference finals this morning.
I agree. I would go conference finals. I wouldn't go finals unless they were able to do something that nobody would expect, like getting a Giannis or a really solid forward or a big. But also that kind of leads into the question of, I mean, with Giannis too, like, is he
All
really
right,
worth the price of,
if
because
they're the one and if they're the 1-2.
1, 2, okay. So if they don't have anybody better than VJ, I would say yes, just because with the East, I mean, it's Boston and kind of everybody else. I mean, Detroit has a good foundation growing, but we've seen good regular season teams fall apart like the Cavs. So, I mean, I like the combo of VJ and Tyrese. I would probably put that up there. I'd probably put that in the top three of favorite duos in the East. I'd probably have Jalen and Jason number one. I think Cunningham and Duren are fascinating. Just Duren, his improvement is incredible. The Knicks, it's just kind of the cohesive unit. Mitchell and Garland I liked, but they kind of split that up. Mobley, how do you feel about Mobley? I don't think he can ever really be a number one. And number two, I don't really feel that great about it either. I feel like he just hasn't really improved the way a lot of people kind of projected.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it would have been a little too much to think that he would have ever been a two on a championship team. Obviously, he's a defensive anchor. He's a great glue piece on offense, and there is some nights where he really takes over on offense, where he's hitting his shots. You can't stop him at the rim. He rises up in the mid range. I think he's perfect as a three. Um, and I'm not. I think if you're relying on him to be your second star, especially on offense, I don't think you'd make it to the finals with that. Um, okay, since we're on the Sixers and you mentioned Giannis, if Giannis was on the Sixers team, let's say no George, no Embiid, and the big three is Tyrese, VJ, and Giannis, are they the best team in the East? Are they better than your Celtics?
Mm, I think they have a really strong case. But also at the same time, Tatum's always kind of had Giannis's number. I know in 2021 it was a little bit different, but they've always kind of had it with him, and it would be interesting to see him. I just want to see him out of Milwaukee. I think it'd be fascinating for him, even in Madison Square Garden. Just kind of anywhere. I kind of hope he stays in the East, selfishly, just because everybody I feel like is going to the West. But I think they'd have a strong case for it, and those would be some battles that I would be interested to see because we had a little bit of a taste of the Philly Boston rivalry with Ben Simmons and Joel, and then that kind of just fell apart right in front of our face. So it would be fun. I think Giannis, I don't really know if he has the. I don't know if I'm crazy because I just don't. I'm not as high on him anymore because the injuries have kind of piled up. He's in his late, or he's like in his early 30s or is it mid 30s maybe, and just the physicality that he plays with, I just don't know if it's sustainable for, 5, 10 years. So it could be a little short term burst to the finals with if he goes to Philly. But I'm not as high on Giannis. I get nervous with those injuries he's had.
Yeah. So this episode has pretty much been like an East breakdown.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's move over to the West. I got one for Minnesota. So Anthony Edwards and this team has made the conference finals for 2 straight years. My question essentially is, has Anthony Edwards peaked with this roster? So basically, do you think he and this roster base of, Randall, McDaniels, Gobert, do you think they can finally break through and make a finals? Or do you think the team needs to shift up or Anthony Edwards needs to be moved somewhere else before he can make a finals?
The latter for sure. I don't see I know the Lakers are a contender now and the Nuggets. I just don't see, I mean, I don't see the Timberwolves making a run to the finals at least. Because OKC, San Antonio, the Lakers now, Denver. I do think that they peaked just based off the fact that they they had a chance the last couple of years, and I've never been a big Gobert guy. McDaniels is a great piece next to Ant, but I think this is probably the ceiling is the conference finals, and I don't even think they'll get there this year. I just think that teams have been playing better in the West, and this is really Wemby and the Thunder squad. It's their conference for the foreseeable future. The Lakers, it'll be interesting to see what happens post the LeBron era, and then the Nuggets, they'll always be there with Jokic, so you can never count them out.
Yeah, no need for a Nuggets question. All right, let's talk about the Spurs. Wemby has not played a playoff game yet, but has he proved that he can already be a one for a championship winning team?
I think they can win the title this year, and I think that it always happens with the greats. They always win a championship way earlier than we expected. We saw it, with MJ, it took a little bit, but LeBron was in the finals in his fourth year. We've seen it, Tatum was in the finals in his fifth season. We've seen, Tim Duncan wins in his rookie year. We've seen Magic Johnson. Larry Bird was there in the first couple seasons. So it always happens sooner than you think. And Wemby, I mean, he's shaping out to be an all-time great. The fact of the matter that he's not even in the top 100 in minutes played in the league, and he's in the MVP conversation with SJ, who's consistently playing every night and dropping 30 points, and I totally can see it. I mean, this is one of those squads where it's all kind of coming together, and he just impacts the game in ways that we've never really seen before. Just the size. Everybody is scared as hell to go to the rim when he's around, and his offense is just insane. The way it just doesn't even look real. Like every single time I'll watch a Spurs game, I just, it doesn't, it just feels like out of this world. And I think it would be the right mix of he's hungry. And I kind of love the fact of the matter that he's not American. So, he didn't have the AAU circuit to get buddy buddy with all these guys, and he kind of has the French edge to him where he kind of just is like, I'm gonna be the, most dominant player. I'm working out with Kevin Garnett in the off season. He kind of has that like fuck you edge to where he's not going to let anybody stand in his way, and I could see him just going on an absolute run. And we've seen some cracks in the Thunder's armor, so I could totally see them making a run. And I mean, can you just imagine, Spurs Celtics finals, or even Thunder Celtics? I've wanted for years, but either one of those two in the Celtics, I think it'd probably break records because the Celtics fan base is everywhere, and the Spurs, their fans are super hungry for it. They've been wanting it forever, and the Thunder as well. Everybody in Oklahoma absolutely loves the Thunder, and they were kind of the Cinderella, and now they're kind of the villain, which is making it even more exciting. And I just kind of hope the Thunder or Spurs are in the final, selfishly, but also the Lakers storyline. Can you imagine LeBron? This is his time to get that illustrious fifth ring. Um, just can't wait. And then Jokic, can he put together this Nuggets team that's been, Aaron Gordon's hamstring's been really holding them back, and Jamal Murray, is he able to take them back to where they were before everything kind of fell apart a little bit in Denver?
Yeah. I think the Nuggets are starting to really come together. They're finally like pretty decently healthy. Jokic, I think he has six straight triple doubles. I could be wrong there. But yeah, th this top half of the Western Conference is just such a powerhouse. Um, quick question now that actually just came to my mind. Would any of those top three Western Conference teams win the East? I know they have to go through Boston, but Spurs, Thunder, Nuggets, would they no doubt win the East in your opinion?
Mm, I don't know actually. I think the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla and his psychotic nature would find a way to do something with Wemby. I think coaching would really have to come down to it because Mitch Johnson, like you said, we haven't seen the Spurs in a deep playoff scenario, and we've never seen Wemby. The most high pressure game that he's been in, probably was the Olympics. Um, so I would say they would make it tough. The Thunder, they've had the Celtics number for sure. So that one probably would be a no. But I think the Spurs and the Nuggets, I think the Celtics could definitely get past. There would be bloodshed, but I think they could definitely get past those teams. But the Thunder have had their number for sure.
Mhm. So you mentioned the Lakers and this post LeBron, what they could look like. Can Austin Reeves be the two on a championship team? Let's just say it's with Luca, even though that wouldn't be the best defensive fit. Luca, Reeves, and then let's say they round out well defensively with the forwards and the centers. But could they make the finals with a Luca Reeves 1-2 pairing?
I think so.
Obviously the West is super tough, but what do you think?
I think they could. I think we've seen it with Luca. He led that Mavericks team to a finals. And I know the West was really weird that year, but we've seen it. I would say Kyrie, definitely a better player than Reeves, but Reeves is no slouch. I've loved his tape since, Oklahoma. Go Sooners. Um,
Hmm.
but I could see it. I mean, Luca, did you see the Jeremy Lin kind of broke down what he does in isolation? And it's like
I saw the like post. I didn't read it though.
I mean, I just watched a little bit of it and I mean, Luca, the isolation scoring, but also he just wins. I mean, he's been a winner since he was in Spain playing or overseas playing, and I think he's just a winner, and he can really lead any team. I don't really know if it matters what two he has. He'll kind of just lead anybody, and Reeves is a dog, so I think I could totally see that. They just have to round out everything around him because Luca needs the defenders, he needs 3-point shooting. So I could totally see it. Luca's one of those players that whatever team he's on, he's gonna figure it out.
All right. Do you think Cooper Flag can be the one on a championship team?
Ooh, I think so. I think what he's shown us is I'd say very much in line with, Jason Tatum. I know the Duke connection is there, but also the dominance that he's shown at 18. I just think you'd be crazy to be like, no, he's never going to win as a number one. Because the fact that he's played this well at 17 in college and then 18 in the NBA is unreal, and he's a winning player. So I'm hoping, in year 7 or 8, he's wearing the green and white and playing it out with the Celtics. You see, he was in a Chime commercial with Larry Bird. It's written in the stars. I just think
Mm,
his mom's a huge Celtics fan. He's, from that area, so I'm hoping he can help aging Tatum and Brown in the future. So that's my end goal eventually. We'll have Cooper Flag, DeBansa, Brown and Tatum somehow. So that's the end goal, hopefully. But I think so.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know if I'd go to the one quite yet. Maybe like a 1A, 1B.
I'd give him like
Um,
5 years before he's even touching the finals.
yeah. Um, all right, so I have a question. A guy who's been on a team who's been in the dumps for a while, but he's one of my favorite players. Let's say this team somehow gets really good. They made a nice trade deadline acquisition. I think they're gearing up for some kind of run next season. So let's say it's either with this team or he gets traded somewhere else. Hypothetically, the Thunder was rumored for this guy a couple of years ago. If you haven't guessed it yet, Lauri Markkanen. Can he be the two on a championship team?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think so. I think we'll have to see it once he is out of Utah just because the playoff reps haven't really been there. I don't even know if he's ever played in the playoffs, but I think he could be. A lot of it's situational with a lot of these players. Who are they building around? Because if it's Luca and, Larry Markkinen, I don't know if those pieces will kind of fit together. They would be fascinating together. But if you throw Lowry into the Thunder, biosphere with everybody that they have in the ecosystem, Shea and Lowry would be fascinating. I mean, Chet and Lowry as a front court is fascinating too, with Chet's interior defense and Lowry's outside scoring. That'd be fascinating too. So I definitely think he could be. I think he's a really good three. I think a two would just depend on your one as well as everybody built around. So I think he's a really good three. Two, I think it just depends. That's kind of my verdict.
Okay. So let's say he was rumored with Detroit. Let's say they did a deal of Tobias Harris, a couple of their good young guys, and whatever picks needed to get done there. Where do you think the Pistons ceiling could have been if we had a Cunningham, Markkanen duo?
And
And you know what? No disrespect, Duran trio.
and
I'll put.
Thompson, I think they could win the finals.
Wow.
I think they could
You
win
know
the
what? I
finals if
like
they
that.
did that. Just based off the fact that I'm a huge Thompson twin fan of both of them. I think if the shooting comes along, which they've shown the work ethic to improve the shooting. Cunningham, I love him. The fact that he's always cool, calm, and collected under pressure. Um, Duran, his improvement, and then Lowry. I've always been a fan of him. I just love a 7-footer that can shoot. Give me the size. He plays with effort too. It's not just he's not just a cone out on the floor on defense. So I think I would love to see him on the Pistons, and I just want to see good basketball, and I think they would play a style that Lowry, pair him with Duncan Robinson. It's not all pressure on Robinson to make threes. Lowry can knock some down. So I would really hope that because I do not want Lowry to go on the Thunder. I think that would just be overpowered. They have too many guys anyways. Do you think OKC has too many guys with the I mean I know Bill Simmons says the too many guys theory, but I think they're like 11 deep and I think that could, cause for some issues because you kind of have to have a 7 or 8 that you really trust to make it work in the playoffs.
Dude, hell, they're like a 13 deep team. They had their game yesterday against New York, and Wiggins and Kenrich Williams didn't even play. Like Aaron Wiggins didn't even play, and they still did an 11-man rotation. So they got a lot of guys. I think Markin in Detroit was like my dream trade. I understand why they didn't do it. You know, like we're young and up and coming. Let's not mess with our mojo. Let's not mess with the culture we got going. But if say they flame out in round two, round one, I would keep my eye on that happening. Utah probably doesn't want to do that since they did the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. As I said when I was gearing this question up, I think Utah is kind of looking to make some kind of push next season. I like their roster a lot, especially with that front court of Kessler, Jackson Jr., and Markkanen. I'm gonna love watching them play next year.
Yeah, I think this playoffs is going to be interesting to see what happens. I also think the Houston situation is really fascinating. I think it could explode here this summer. I just think KD as a one, it's kind of over. I mean, it's tough with him because he's such a talented player, but the fact that he just kind of burns bridges with everywhere. I mean, he was the gifted son, of Seattle for a year, and then with the Thunder. I think it's fascinating too what happens in Las Vegas and Seattle with those teams coming in the expansion. I've seen, because they have to have a draft of the players, you can only protect a certain amount. So that'll be fascinating to see what happens with that. But any last second thoughts on the
We'll
guys?
do a we're gonna do an expansion draft pod. Russillo and Simmons did one in 2023, and I still listen to it to this day. Not all the time, but I listened to it about a month ago. It's one of the greatest podcasts ever.
Let's do it.
That will be so fun. We have to do it once like it's all um, announced. And Babylon pod soon. Banger movie. Holy crap. I loved it so much.
Let's run it. Expect those to
Yeah.
come shortly here on the Rombo Show.
Hmm.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, sir.